Welcome back, nerds.
She surprised me with that one.
Apparently I did. Katie's always a little bit tense before we start. Easily thrown off.
I didn't think you'd call her audience nerds.
Well,
Right to their faces.
right to their faces. The gall. The nerve. Hey, welcome back to the ReBoot review : It's Alphanumeric. Today, well, I'm Robin today, as opposed to most days.
I'm Katie today.
Good. We're keeping the groove, going. Okay, and today we are talking about episode 3, The Quick and the Fed. So, for this, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the show and how it's a Canadian show, as I believe most of you at this point know, and it was originally commissioned by YTV, which is the major kids network in Canada, as well as ABC in the States for their one Saturday morning lineup. And a sort of famous thing about the mythology surrounding the making of the show is that ABC was quite a bit stricter than YTV was in terms of what they were willing to accept in the show. So I wanted to talk about it with this episode because in The Quick and the Fed, we actually get our first BS&P joke.
Wow, you've done your research.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's the first BS&P joke. I just know that or remember that.
There.
Yeah. I remember it being there from the last time I watched the series. And for those of you who don't know, the board at ABC that governed what they were and were not allowed to do, maybe not the board, but the sort of set of rules for it was called Broadcast Standards and Practices, or BS&P. And I remember as a kid watching the show, and they would always make these allusions to BS&P and jokes about it. And they always seemed really random and out of nowhere until I learned as an adult what that meant, which was basically that ABC was being very strict on these creators and had decided that they couldn't do certain things. And so the creators would respond by making fun of their broadcast standards and practices.
It seems pretty true to the ReBoot standard because everything is tongue-in-cheek in the show. And so, of course, they would be thumbing their noses at all authority, whether it's in the show or around the show.
Yeah, and they just didn't care that you as an audience, as a child watching, would not know what BS&P was.
Or most of the grown-ups.
Yeah, that too, actually. Yeah, I did have to explain it to a grown-up friend of mine. Yeah. But I guess my question for you, Katie, is you're a mom now. Mm-hmm. And you, I don't know if that's changed how you view the maybe stricter standards. I mean, your kids are very young still, so they're not at the age where they would really be watching ReBoot, but like how do you feel now about this idea that ABC would have been trying to make a nicer, softer show out of ReBoot?
That's a good question. Because I know as a parent, I tend to steer clear of anything that wouldn't align well with what I want my kids to see. And so if I happen to find a show that pushes the limits, we don't watch it, even if it's a good show. So I can appreciate what they were going for. But then on the other hand, I think every parent has their own set of standards that they go by, and ABC isn't going to make everyone happy. So sometimes I get the sense that it's less them trying to make a show that's better for kids and more just trying to avoid complaints.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that, but it probably was, given that ABC was this huge company based in a notoriously litigious country, that it was more just covering their backsides.
Yeah, that's always, and maybe I'm cynical because that's always what I assume of any business or anyone. But it just seemed that way, and it always seems that way when it comes to censorship in shows. And I always just think parents have to take some control over what their kids watch if they want. So, yeah, I think it's more on the parents than the company.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that even like a parent would be like, I don't know that it's the broadcaster's job to tell me what my kids should or shouldn't be watching in certain time slots. But
Yeah, especially if it's going to like get in the way of the show, like being good.
yeah,
really.
yeah.
On the other hand, sometimes, creators of shows are adults, or pretty much always. So they sometimes forget what it's like to have a kid.
That's true too. And, I feel like by the time you're getting into season 3, which is an older kid you might have really liked, they weren't really considering their audience at that point, I don't think.
No, they had their audience and they were happy with it, I think.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly. And if you started watching the show when you were 10 and you were now like, I don't know, 14 or 15 or something. Wait, that math doesn't line up. But if you're like started watching when you were 10 and you're now 13, it just feels like the show has grown with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that having been said, I think it's time for us to start watching.
Let's watch ReBoot.
Let's watch ReBoot, you guys. Episode 3, The Quick and the Fed, starting now.
I come from the net, through systems, peoples, and cities.
What's that yellow
to
stuff?
this
Is it
place.
cheese?
Good question.
I mean, really.
I bet it's cheese.
My format,
It's computer
garden.
cheese.
It's feta
Men
cheese.
and defend. To defend
Computer
my
cheese.
newfound friends, their hopes and dreams. To defend them from their enemies.
We should do interesting things during the intro. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like come up with some good inside jokes. We're going to be watching this a lot.
Yeah, this is true, actually. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about the fact of making this. And if we end up making like a full season of episodes, this is us watching the opening every single time.
Every single time.
Yeah, that's a lot of watching the opening.
They say the user lives outside the net and inputs games for pleasure.
Christopher Bro?
No
Bro,
one knows
I
for
was trying to
sure.
figure out how to say that
But
guy's
I
last name when I was
find
reading the
out.
Matthew Braga BuzzFeed article about him. I even looked up online different pronunciations, and there's like 6 different ways to say that name. Bruff, brew, brow, bro. Like, if anyone knows how to pronounce that man's last name, please tell me.
Christopher, if you're watching.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we apologize
Ooh, spinning.
thoroughly. Yeah, do you remember The Quick and the Fed?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't remember the joke that you're talking about, but
It's really kind of a throwaway thing. It just really stuck in my head though, as I was like, oh yeah, BS&P jokes.
yeah. Well, I remember the Talent Night BSMP joke.
Yeah, that's the really classic one. Yeah.
Pretty obvious, yeah. Oh no, is that a magnet?
It does look very cartoonishly like a magnet. Yeah. Very
Good.
obviously so.
Computers and magnets don't work.
I think that's the idea.
I know. Foreshadowing.
Speaking of foreshadowing, I guess that's our first look at Nibbles.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
There's some cool music here. Did we ever hear this? This seems to me like, well, there's the standard reboot music, but the little build-up to it was really cool. Yeah.
What do we make a bite?
Opening Nibbles, my path to the supercomputer. More words, more servants, more power.
Thought he was being invited into a friendly hand.
Baby likes it. Purple.
Yeah, it's
It's a different sensation altogether.
He'll erase if he gets within 10 bits of that magnet.
I guess we have to establish that magnets erase sprites.
Yes.
Or anything with a
Megabyte.
computer.
I mean, when I was a kid, this was like an informational show because I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Although I did know, I guess,
Men.
that they could mess up a TV.
Curses and crashes. I've been spending a lot of time editing the last episode. And the legs again. Bring up the legs. I wonder if he's got more than one set, like a closet full of legs.
Yes, and they all look the same.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Glitch.
It's a walk-in
Cutters.
closet, which is sad and ironic.
That's not ableist.
It kind of is, isn't it?
See? Oh no.
Was he using that to open a gate to the supercomputer again? I think he said that he was. I'm trying to remember why the magnet was there in the first place.
I know, it is funny how sometimes they set up a premise and you're forgetting exactly why they were doing it or what scheme it was.
Oh, once again, we're going to see the pounce.
Oh,
And the run.
Let's reuse this footage. It was really cool.
Yeah. Basically, that was like the same angles and everything.
Yeah.
I wonder if they did reuse that. I never get tired of watching it, just to be clear.
Yeah, it's true. Roar.
There was some very weird eyebrow stuff going on with Bob's reaction.
Later.
Yes.
They're very waggly.
I was noticing this, like, little teeny tiny irises.
That too.
Okay, boss. Consider it done.
That shot was in the credits.
Major coolness up
Once
there,
again,
Bob.
the context.
I heard you royally kicking
We now
us
know.
off the bitmap. Think there'll be a game soon? Think I could go in the game with you, huh? I could be your co-pilot or your deputy or...
Enzo,
Yeah, Dot?
it's not good for business when you sit on the customers.
Oh, sorry. Here, Bob.
Table for two, sir.
Yes, Cecil, please.
That's
Him and the kid who was
sir.
already here?
I think he's insulting him.
Oh.
Like Bob, you have no friend.
Right. That's a good point,
Stop
actually.
coming to eateries all by yourself.
It's sad.
Maybe Cecil.
Oh, I
cares.
forgot Cecil View.
Yeah.
With like
Tip.
opportunities.
He's really slow.
He is actually. I guess we're looking at like 90s processing
Care to
power
join
That's
here.
true. That's
Yeah.
probably pretty accurate.
Sure. Thanks, Dot.
That's like the speed your computer was back in the 90s.
Exactly.
Nope.
Somebody move my stool.
What was it?
With
Dot?
Dot.
A drink for Bob.
Dot.
Of course.
A prank.
Really?
Are you in grade 3?
That was, yeah, well, I mean, it's Dot. That's about as good of a practical joke as she can
She
pull
probably
off.
does think that's the height
Yeah.
of hilarious. So cool, you gotta wear shades.
Dot's Diner. Fastest,
Fastest
food
food in mainframe. I always remember
is
that line
true.
for some reason.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What's
Well, because
this?
it's meant to be a catchphrase,
magnet.
so I guess it really did catch.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
It's okay. It's shielded.
Oh,
Yeah, it seems like this is the equivalent of him bringing like plutonium.
old man Pearson's data dump down
From
in
the way
sector
everyone's reacting.
1001.
I will. Thanks. Go ahead, Enzo. Give Glitch a try.
Really? Alphanumeric.
glitch, magnet.
Glitch? Hammer.
Quiet, passive smiling.
Ugh.
That seemed like that should have had sound on it.
Okay, seriously, who handed this to the kid?
Our hero, apparently.
I remember when I was a kid being pretty impressed by the animation on this.
Yeah, like it does look. It's like cool but threatening. And it's like such a. Like it's just like reducing. Mind you, I don't know if that's what her model normally looks like.
That's what I was
Under all-
saying. She
yeah.
probably just looks like when they got it wrong, and they were like, "Copy and paste that," because
We'll
that's
get her
perfect.
help, Enzo. Don't panic. Doesn't anyone here know how to reverse a magnetic erasure?
No, but Fong would, sir. Sir?
Fast as Bob and mainframe. Still with
Oh
the
wait,
Bob.
he does play Pong with him again.
Now,
I'd
as in
totally
not
forgotten
later?
this.
Yeah, me too. I kind of thought it was a throwaway.
Yeah.
Concentration
Are there other
is
Pong
important.
incidences that were not? Wait.
Yeah. That,
Yeah.
Oh, he's mad.
Actually, that was probably where it ended.
That was me.
It was like, okay, kids, you're not allowed back in the
You
pool
have
now.
that spin, my son.
fine.
Although I do appreciate that it's like it's a character-driven. Also, that guy quit.
Yeah, that's right. No one else would volunteer.
Now that you have whumped me at my favorite game, you have.
I do
proven
appreciate that it's like a
yourself worthy
character-driven
of my vast
thing, though.
knowledge
That
and
it's like
endless
Bob
wisdom.
actually like he's playing this time, but he's really not happy to be doing
I
this.
told
Yeah.
you it's Dot. She's been partially erased by a magnet, and they said you would know how to return her to normal.
Magnetic erasure, huh? The source code accelerates an unstable file fragmentation, leading to a complete delete.
Whoa, you lost me, Fong. Can you repeat that?
He lost
In
me
plain
too,
dog?
don't
Yeah.
you, Bob?
Probably not. But I can tell you that Dot needs to access some really, really, really slow food. It will decelerate her accelerated condition and return her to normal. Well, what are you waiting for? Any shock or sudden movement could completely destabilize her. Hurry! You don't have all second, you know!
I like the idea that his arms extend
And what
infinitely.
wasted
Yes,
food
true.
is
Looks like
kinda
they were gonna keep
slow
going.
Food. Owls wait and eat. Level 31.
Level
Oh, they-
31.
Yeah.
No way.
We've now been introduced to level 31.
Level 31? You damn can't go there. It's too dangerous.
They do a great job with that too.
Yeah,
The mixing
Yeah.
for her in that state.
Bob, but it's my problem too. Use a window to call.
And also they do a lot of like jump cuts with
Yeah.
her, which is the
Yeah.
kind of
You
thing
do
that
the
like
relaxing,
looks right
I'll
in
do
your
the
like
singing, okay?
inside a computer world. That would look really
Man,
bizarre in
she's
any other
really out of
cartoon.
it.
Yes, that's very
Can I
true.
go with you? Level 31? Can I? Huh?
I'm counting on you here, and so is your sister. Hang in there, Dot. Bob's on the job.
And our first sight of owls. I find like it's the owl situation is a little bit like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
Like everyone calls it, you always want to
yeah.
call him Owl, but it's like no, it's Owl's waiter.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Tough room.
Oh yeah, one of the rare occasions when we see another sprite.
Hello.
Yeah, that's
Before
right.
it's kind of established that there's not otherwise sprites in mainframe.
I wonder
This
what
is an
one was.
emergency. I need slow food to go.
I'm gonna say he was like just passing through.
Yeah, that's true.
Had to fly under the radar.
Hear that, Al? What?
Right?
Slow food doesn't go fast.
Hold on, who is the voice of
That's why
Owl?
it's
He did like
slow.
a ton of voices in the show, of course. He was
Yeah.
one of the
If you want to order
incidentals.
some food, take a number.
more page flipping. Oh, Michael Donovan,
Oh,
who is
Michael
also
Donovan.
96.
Fong, Mike
Must
the
be the lunch
TV,
crowd.
Cecil,
Now
Mr. Christopher, and
serving
Lieutenant Chauncey.
number
I'd be curious to see the rest of his
Three.
credits because I think I've seen his.
Yeah, no, he did all of these like Beast Wars, like
Yeah.
all the mainframe shows, and pretty much all the Canadian stuff at that time. I think he was pretty prolific.
I am proud to announce that I am Hack.
And I am Slash.
He is Slash.
I am
Thank you.
Slash.
I
Don't
am
you
Hack.
know us
I'll never
Mr.
Hack
forget.
and Slash, get it right.
Yes, I do.
Let's not waste memory on unimportant details. I need that magnet.
harsh.
I want you to search and retrieve.
Yeah, seriously. How long has he employed these guys?
Oh, they've been dedicated to you. They've blown up for you.
That's true, repeatedly. Actually, in the previous episodes, there are times when we've sounded a little bit like Hack and Slash.
What's the deal
That
with
isn't
Seven?
how I imagine our pairing.
Actually, yeah. No wonder people. That's Duke.
Canadian.
Oh, and Rimshot guy.
I missed the joke. I was
Yeah.
too excited about the Duke.
Can't you process my food any faster?
Look, pal, I gotta feed this whole room. I got a partner on my back for this big takeout order. And Al back there only runs at 3 decahertz. What?
So that's Gary Chalk,
gotta wait
who has been in a
online like
bajillion
everyone
things as well,
else,
including a ton of
okay?
mainframe stuff. And in this show, he is Slash, Turbo, Air Doctor, and Cyrus.
Oh, Air Doctor.
Please, I need your food on a matter of life and
I
death.
love all the little incidents.
Zip off, punk! I've been waiting for this since I was 4.
It's funny how many of the silly jokes get better as you get older.
It's they talk about dad jokes.
Yeah,
Don't
that must be
smash
it.
up the place
We've
again.
aged into dad joke territory.
Yep, we're dads now.
For a dear friend. Seen him lately?
Care to trade?
What?
You give me food, I'll get rid of your friends.
What? Sure, you got a deal.
He still must really like Bob in order to
Here
not
I
just
am,
turn him in.
Megabyte.
Yeah,
Or at least
I know.
trust him.
Yeah.
Well, seize him, you fools.
You have to catch me first.
I was gonna say that.
I don't remember a vid window exploding like that.
I think that's the only time you see it happen.
It's pretty cool. But that's been expensive and hard to make.
thinking about the zip boards and how, like, when Enzo uses it, it feels like the equivalent of getting around by skateboard.
Yeah.
But literally everyone uses them.
yeah.
Like Dot and Bob, and it just kind of gives this feeling, yeah, skateboard is the standard way to get around in mainframe.
Maybe it's like good for the environment.
Yeah, there you go. Our inside the computer environment.
Exactly.
Which we seem to like to
Saving
allude
on
to.
energy or memory or something.
You aren't going to catch me before the game wall closes.
It's funny, I had the PS1 game where you basically, like, one of the first things you have to do is learn how to ride the zip board.
I heard
It was so impossible. I played for about a few minutes before I realized that it was not going to happen.
And I've been curious about the PS1 game lately, because I remember maybe I remember you having it. I thought I had a copy of it at some point as well, unless I gave it to
I think you might have gotten it given to me to try, because I think I had
Level 1.
PlayStation or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was awful.
Yeah, and like, but the thing is, when I was sort of looking for doing some image searches to try and like build assets for making the YouTube channel, I saw like a bunch of stills from it, from like the cutscenes, and it made me like really intrigued about actually like seeing it, and because it had a story, right? That was almost like a self-contained episode.
That's the thing that's so frustrating when they make games from shows and like they have these cool cutscenes or stories or whatever, like the stuff that they're good at making, but they don't know how to make a game.
Yeah.
Ruin it.
Mind you, I guess now we have YouTube where you could find any cutscene you ever want. So I suppose if we really wanted to,
and
we could just watch all the cutscenes from the game.
And you know that, there's someone who's taking the time to put them
all of
together.
that up there.
It's a nice dragon.
You know, there's a lot of things I like about this episode. I like the emotional stakes of it, with like, I mean, Dot's always the hero, kind of having to save people, but he's very personally invested with it being literally Dot's life on the line.
Yeah.
And I like that the game is like a fantasy-style game with cool dragons and like dragon fights in it. There was just a lot about this episode that appealed to 12-year-old me watching this show.
Yeah, and the thing too is like this show or this episode, like I always think it's further along in the show because it's so well done.
Yeah.
And there's just. Yeah, it's just a good episode altogether.
And I love that it's Al and Al's waiter and the dragon. I had forgotten that part. But yeah, it just feels solid and almost like maybe they hit their stride with this episode.
I think so.
Yeah. Because it already feels less clunky than the tearing and racing the Fed.
Yeah, less of those awkward shots.
Yeah, and weird facial expressions. I mean, except for when Enzo was trying the trying glitch. And they were just kind of... But besides that...
Okay, here goes.
We're getting to see lots of fun new little background characters like Al and Al's waiter.
Yeah. And 8.
Yes, good old 8. Yeah, this actually just always looked like a fun game to play. I guess there is a classic game where it's just like you ride around on a dragon and I forget what it's called, but there's some kind of famous classic game. So this is quite possibly based off of that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Although it's also funny how much they like had to base games on the concept of the sprites must do the same thing as the player does, but they have to do it faster or get there first.
Yeah.
Like they relied a lot on that. Oh, here we go. Here it is.
BS&P.
Because presumably ABC was like, you can't have someone crashing through a window. Like that's a bad influence.
So wait, what did he say exactly?
He just says glitch, BS&P.
Oh.
And that's how he gets through the window without crashing through it.
Oh.
Because ABC, when I'm presumably, was like, you can't have someone crashing through a window.
Because the parents will complain that their child crashed through their window. And
yeah,
Bob
it's
did
a
it.
bad influence. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like, I guess you couldn't have us, our hero, Bob, or Dot, or Enzo in the game, and have them be like a Goomba. Like, they can't just literally meet the protagonist of the game, like the user once.
Yeah.
And, then never see them again after they get stepped on.
That's
Like
where the ones and zeros.
Yeah, exactly. Our insignificant binos get to be Goombas. But the hero of the game you're the hero of the show, when they go into a game, still has to be the hero. So you basically had to have them doing the exact same stuff that the user was.
Yeah, like this fight. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like it could have easily have been, just someone who rebooted in with them, and they could work together. And
Yeah. Oh, I guess this is a game sprite.
Spiky. Yeah, it is a game
As
sprite.
you know,
yes.
it's. I guess they do sort of start to explain some things like this later on.
True.
Yeah.
But it is funny. Yeah, you bring it up. It's like, yeah, did it always have to be this way? Oh, bye bye.
Glitch! Vidwin! Large icons!
That's clever.
That is.
I like that.
I'm coming, Dot!
Economizing.
Let's not animate this.
Enzo?
Am I glad to see you?
You've got to help me delete these stupid clothes. It's mega embarrassing. I wanted to reboot into a knight like you, not a damsel in this dress.
That color is you.
Damsel in this
This
dress.
Oh,
Yeah.
Enzo. You're the worst. Those sound effects are great.
Where's Dot?
Yeah, they
I'm supposed
really
to be
are.
saving her, remember?
She's right there, Bob.
Dot, you're better.
Also, how many
Not
knights
for long.
does the user have to fight
Fight 'em
in this?
by myself.
All right, I'm coming.
I like her armor though.
It's cool.
Yeah. I like that color.
I don't think so. The icon! Hit his icon!
I'm pretty
But that-
sure that, like weak spots are really reserved for game bosses, not.
Yeah,
Player.
not the player character.
It's easy mode.
Yeah.
No way!
Enzo gets to be a worthwhile presence after all.
Hooray, he saved the day.
Such enthusiasm.
I mean, this is just going to give him further,
all right,
like.
Enzo.
It's going to have
License to insist that he comes into the
Exactly.
games.
You mean it?
Yeah. All right, I give up. How did you get back to normal?
I was trying to tell you before. Al and I are partners in his business. I just vid-windowed for a delivery.
You and Al? So much for me being Mr. Save the Day. Care for some, slightly used food?
No, but thanks for the thought.
I'm a little torn on that as a twist.
It was quite
This
difficult.
twist just feels
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
like something dangerous had to happen.
Yeah,
Bob had to
exactly.
save the day somehow.
I'd like it returned.
But it's like, I like that Dot
And
saved
the
herself,
sooner,
but then it was like, well, what was the whole rest of the
What was the
episode
point?
for?
Well, maybe actually it was for Bob to learn that maybe he should listen.
That's true, actually.
I was just gonna
Chance
toss
for our
it
hero
anyway.
to learn his lesson.
Catch.
Yeah, that's stone cold, given what we understand about what magnets do.
Look at him, he fell off there.
Oh, he knew hack and slash.
See?
were-
You're not unimportant details.
Something I should tell you before we hit rock bottom. What? It's too late.
I like that you get a moment of hack and slash confessing their feelings for each other.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, Dot, is there anything in mainframe you don't own?
Maybe. Who wants to know?
Me, I just asked.
It was just a question, jeez.
Strange response.
I'll keep it to myself next time. So yeah, that is the quick and the fed, which again, I feel like is a first, like, solid episode.
Definitely, yeah. I
Yeah.
really like it. Could have been further. Like it could have been their second episode. First, not first, but like it feels like it could have been earlier, even. Like it was a better episode than the first two.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there's something to be said about that, because I like, again, having worked in TV myself, I know that there is a certain amount of allowance for going back and changing your episode order from what you had originally sort of planned in production to, you know, being like, oh, well, it turns out that this is like a really solid episode and we don't want to risk losing people on this really weak episode. If the weak episode was episode number 2, you're totally free to go back and be like, okay, well, episode 4 is actually way stronger, so we're going to switch them around to get people hooked with our better episodes, and we're going to bury this weaker episode kind of midway through the season. That having been said, we know from research that ReBoot was on a really tight production timeline.
Yeah.
So it may also be that they just didn't have this episode delivered in time to make it
Yeah.
their second episode. So,
And that's TV.
yeah. Any last thoughts on Quick and the Fed before we move on?
Honestly, like, it's so fun to rewatch all of these episodes because it's just like, this is a good show.
Yeah, it's almost hard to comment on it because you're like, you get into watching it and you're like, I want to see the cute jokes and the funny little, and I almost feel like I did this with you not having watched it for a while because I wanted to be able to get your sort of spur of the moment reactions to it, but I almost want to watch it again with you without commenting so that like we can actually see it.
Just
or I feel
enjoy
like
it.
you should go back because I've seen it again recently, but it would be fun for Katie to just go back and like
Just didn't want, well, I'll introduce it to my kids.
one day.
ABC.
The
darned.
ABC friendly seasons.
Yeah, that's right.
And hold season 3 until they're
Yeah,
in
that's
their
it.
tweens, maybe.
Season 1 and 2, we could give it a shot.
yeah. And it's not like Harry Potter where, you know, they're gonna learn the existence of the later books regardless, and
That's
you know,
right.
Yeah. You can hide the existence of season 3 because it's not like anyone's going to
'Cause
tell them.
nobody's watching.
Yeah. Not now anyway. So anyhow, that was episode 3, The Quick and the Fed. Again, we don't know if anyone is watching this at this point because I still, due to technical difficulties, have not gotten any episodes online. But if you like it, please let us know and do all the things you'd normally do to a YouTube show that you like. Kiss your monitor. I don't know.
I was going to say, that's a weird invitation.
That is actually. Yeah, don't just accept that as a broad anything goes.
I mean, we can't control you.
That's
so, I mean,
true, actually. We're not in your house. We can't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we hope you enjoyed this and that you stick around for episode 4. So until next time, stay frosty.
What? I know I didn't get it right.